من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر إلى الملأ من بني إسرائيل من بعد موسى إذ قالوا لنبي لهم ابعث لنا ملكا نقاتل في سبيل الله قال هل عسيتم إن كتب عليكم القتال ألا تقاتلوا قالوا وما لنا ألا نقاتل في سبيل الله وقد أخرجنا من ديارنا وأبنائنا فلما كتب عليهم القتال تولوا إلا قليلا منهم والله عليم بالظالمين. وقال لهم نبيهم إن الله قد بعث لكم طالوت ملكا قالوا أنى يكون له الملك علينا ونحن أحق بالملك منه ولم يؤت سعة من المال قال إن الله اصطفاه عليكم وزاده بسطة في العلم والجسم والله يؤتي ملكه من يشاء والله واسع عليم. وقال لهم نبيهم إن آية ملكه أن يأتيكم التابوت فيه سكينة من ربكم وبقية مما ترك آل موسى وآل هارون تحمله الملائكة إن في ذلك لآية لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم brothers and sisters. وعليكم السلام. I have just read a story from the Quran, and it is the story of a prophet of God for Bani Israel. And this prophet of God, his people asked him, they told him, we don't think you're the perfect fit to be the leader of an army, leader of an ummah, to be fighting or defending against the Taghut, their prophet, he told them, I'm going to ask God. Let me see what I can return to you. So he asked God, and God returned to him and told him. So he came to the people and he told them, God has chosen a king for you, and he will lead you in arms. If you remember, the name of the king that God chose was Talut. What happened was, after he was chosen, they said to him, أَنَّا يَكُونُ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ عَلَيْنَا وَنَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِالْمُلْكِ مِنْهُ وَلَمْ يُؤْتَ سِعَةً مِنَ الْمَالِ. We are more righteous to have the kingship and to be the leader in arms, of course, because he has not been given a large amount of wealth. So you see, that's when people come to choose their choices sometimes, when a large number of people come to vote, this is what, in this case, would want to vote for who has the most money. أو رجل من القريتين عظيم. So they want to choose their own choice. But God knows best for this ummah. God knows what's best for them, and God knows that this person is the right person. And God also gives them an answer. So the Prophet of God gives them an answer, says, قال إن الله اصطفاه عليكم وزاده بسطة في العلم والجسم. God has seen him, he is in a better position, more specialized. In many places, we might not put the right person in the right specialization. Like, I don't want to give examples, but back in our countries, they might not give the person who has studied the degree a position. So in here, God tells us this guy is specialized for this position. And he has been given an increased, higher level of knowledge and stronger body, which is what he needs for the tactics and the ability to lead. So this shows us that when it comes to people, they might not always choose the right decision of the leader, and in fact, they choose the wrong one. And even with Prophet Muhammad, they wanted someone who's great from both tribes. So it is best to leave it up to God. And you can see it across time. It's God is the one who does the best decision, because he's the all-wise, he's the all-knowing, and he knows what's best for the ummah. And sallallahu ala rasulina Muhammad wa ala ali baytiha al-tayyibin al-tahirin. Salawat.
رحم الله من أعاد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, for Adi Marhumin, please recite a Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha with a Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإنك لتدعوهم إلى صراط مستقيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him, وَإِنَّكَ لَتَدْعُوهُمْ, certainly you call them, إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيم, to a straight path. In the previous nights, we've been going over the meanings of the prayer. And we've been emphasizing a lot how important it is to understand what you say when you pray, because what you say has an effect on your heart. We also said that the prayer is the column of Islam. It's the symbol of Islam. And how funny is it that we might symbolize a thing, but we don't have the depth in that thing. It's like you're building a column to support your home, but the column is hollow. And it is not enough for us to just believe and to pray and to not reflect. Many a times the Quran al-Karim, it mentions that we should not just read the Quran al-Karim, we should reflect on it. Our salah has Quran in it. And it's important that if we want to really benefit from our religiousness, we have a lot to deal with outside. I know exactly what you have to go through. To be a religious person, to come to the majalis, I mean, you could have gone rather on a Saturday night or a Friday night elsewhere. You could have been, for our young men here, hanging out with friends, going out places, talking to people you shouldn't be talking to. It's all open for you. I was talking to a scholar in Lebanon, or he's from Lebanon, and we were in Iraq at the time. And he said, I believe that the people in the Western world, the Shia that are practicing their religion, are way more religious than us in our homes. I go, how is this? You have the adhan, you have the mosque on every corner. He said, that doesn't make us religious. Because a lot of our boys, if you take them and put them in Australia, once they take a breath of absolute freedom, nothing is considered, what we say in Arabic, aib, considered rude. You can do whatever you like. You've got freedom here. You've got the freedom here to go against your parents, and your parents can't say a thing. This is the truth. The only thing that keeps us from not going astray and our parents keeping a good hold on us until we're old enough is our Islam, is our religion, is our fellowship of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. عليهم الصلاة والسلام أجمعين. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Fatiha, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayri al-maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Generally speaking, when the translators write in the prayer book or in the Quran al-Karim in a mushaf, the translation of, they're going to say, guide us to the straight path. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, the straight path which you have bestowed favor upon, on those you have bestowed their favor upon. So there's this path and there's a group of people and you've bestowed your favor. I want to be on their path. That's what you're asking Allah. We said yesterday that Surah Al-Fatiha is like a conversation. It's the only surah in the Quran Al-Karim where you are speaking to Allah Azza wa Jal. So you're asking Him, Allah, guide me to the straight path. The straight path of those who you have bestowed your favor upon. You've blessed them. You've given your ni'am to them. And then you put a qualifier. You say, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ. Not the ones that you've angered. Afan, have angered you. وَلَا الضَّالِينَ, all the ones that have gone astray. I want to break down these words. I've given a translation. Perhaps you know these words and these translations. But when we dig a little deeper into the Fatiha, a lot of beautiful flowers start to grow. A lot of scents start to emerge. You start realizing that the concepts of Tawheed is stitched in Surah Al-Fatiha. Surah Al-Fatiha, we said on a previous night, is the condensed version of the Quran Al-Karim. So the more you dig at it, the more you dig deeper and deeper, you find you start unfolding all the concepts the Quran has presents later in the Quran Al-Karim. So it's a very deep verse, or rather a deep set of verses. At the same time, it's the most known one. We said yesterday, if you can get a good handle on what you're saying in your salah, you're probably above about 1 billion people in their prayer. We have about 1.3 billion Muslimin on this earth. I think the Shia are the 0.3, the 300 million odd. So inshallah we're already ahead, with the wilayah. But maybe we can be ahead further, inshallah, with the salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ihdina is from hadaya. Hadaya means, in one meaning, to give a beneficial advice, to guide someone towards something good. So if you're a hadi, for example, the name hadi is a name, but it's also a description. If you're a tour guide, you can be rightfully called a hadi. You guide people on that tour, right? They say, for example, that a person in your akhirah, a guiding angel, they'll call them a hadi, for example, right? So ihdina, hadiya, hadi, it starts to make a bit more sense. They're all the same root word. In this case, it's meaning ihdina in the plural form as a group. So ihdina is saying, Ya Allah, us, all of us believers, point us in the right direction. So we're saying, point us into what direction though? Because now the sentence, just the word alone doesn't make sense. So we're saying, Ihdina sirat. Okay, let's pause before we say al-mustaqim. Ihdina sirat. Sirat is a lovely word. Sirat is from saraya. Saraya, it's to prevent someone from what they want. So it's like giving a person guardrails. So saraya is to give mawana to someone. And sirat describes a path that is completely straight, and on it there are blockages that prevent you from going left or right. So when we say ihdina sirat, it's a very submissive statement. You're saying, Ya Allah, look, I need you to do it for me. Guide my heart. Ihdina sirat, guide us all to this path that has, it's like when you go bowling and you've got the option to open the gutters or to close the gutters. We all know that when you close the gutters in bowling, you're more likely to have a strike and you're more likely to win. You're asking Allah to put us on this path that has these railings that keep us going straight and ahead, that we don't go left or right. The good thing about path, the interesting thing about path, in Arabic, if you said sabil, fi sabilillah, on the path of Allah. Fi tariqillah, which is not said because we never put that word with Allah. Why? Tariq means what we call a road. Outside in Arabic, the Arabs say that the road is called a tariq. A tariq indicates a path with a lot of dangers. So you want to say fi tariqillah. You'd say the path to Allah is a sabil. A sabil is an easy path. It might wind left and right, but it's easy. So the path to Allah is easy. But when we say sirat, sirat is straight and it prevents any harm from you. We're going to go deeper because sirat al-mustaqim has a deeper meaning than this, a theological meaning. We're talking about just the Arabic at the moment. But when you stitch the Arabic with the theology, that is when the flowers really start to release their scent. Al-mustaqim. Al-mustaqim is an interesting word. In grammar, it's called the ism al-fa'il from istiqam. Istiqama is from qawama. Qawama means to make something that's crooked, righteous, straight again. So guide us, point us in the direction of this path that is straight, that has barriers, that keeps me going, keeps me from going left and right. And it's called mustaqim. This mustaqim path that turns me from being crooked to being upright and righteous. إن هذا القرآن تهدي للتي هي أقوم. You always see this verse on all the competitions for the Quran al-Kareem. Aqwam, qawama, istiqama comes from the same root word. This Quran is what guides you to what is righteous. Here, aqwam, the most righteous. So then we said, okay, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. Now we're adding, what is this sirat? More descriptions of what is this path, this very straight path that keeps you from going left and right. This path that makes you righteous. This path that you want Allah to point you towards when you say ihdina as a group together. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. The path of those الذين أنعمت from, when we say blessing, we say na'ma, for example. أنعمت. An'amta means that you have already, it's past tense, you've already blessed them, and there's emphasis with the alaf present in front of it. You've completed your blessing. And alladhina is referring to a group, not alladhi. صراط الذي أنعمت عليه would be in the singular. We're speaking in a pluralistic form. There's a group of people that Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed and guided. They are 100% on the sirat, and I want to be on that path. Who do you think when we describe them like this? Who comes to mind? A group of people in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Of course, it's none other than Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Alayhi salatu wassalam. So, you notice Surah Al-Fatiha, it's a very specific request. Point me in the right direction, onto the straight path that has barriers that keeps me from going left and right, and it takes me from crookedness into righteousness. It's a path of those you've completed your favor, your blessing upon them. You've guided them 100%. They are the closest to you in every facet and every way. It's very specific, isn't it? Better than guide us to the straight path, the path you've bestowed your favor upon. It's a very simple translation. It works as a translation, but it's not enough.
So which one was the other one? The one you mentioned?
Have fun. Which one?
Guide us on all paths. Guide us on every path.
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. As in the path of those Allah has bestowed His favor upon in a complete way. He's given His blessing 100% to them. It's a group of people. It's referring to a group, not a singular person, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the usual translation. Guide us on the straight path.
So, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us to the straight path. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم is the path of those whom you've bestowed your favor upon. And there's a lot of discussion amongst the Muslimin who these people are. Our brothers and sisters will say it's the Anbiya. They're all the prophets. Okay, it's a good argument. The path of the prophets. But whose sharia is it wajib to follow? The sharia of Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam, La al-Khatam, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So we have the Anbiya as examples. Allah mentions them in the Quran al-Kareem, so we make them a reference. But in whose Quran al-Kareem? The Quran that He descended upon? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So we're not referring to previous religions. The Quran confirms them and says, but this is the final. So there's a group of people that have the complete favor He's referring to in the Quran. Who are they? They're in the time of the Prophet. Our hadith that it refers to, of course, Ahlul Bayt, عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. So we say, غير المغضوب عليهم. This is the scary part of the verse. There are people, we say غير as in other than, غير المغضوب. المغضوب is اسم المفعول from the word, it's from غضب. غضب means you've been angered. If you're maghdub, that means anger is descending upon you. Anger is descending. So you're saying, I don't want to be on that path of those people that the anger of God has descended upon them. Through their actions, through their deeds. There are people that are maghdub. You'll find people in the villages in Lebanon, if they want to describe a bad character, they say, like this guy's maghdub, this guy has the anger of God on him. It's very derogatory, this term. But the concept is there, that they receive anger. Okay. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ضالين is from ضلالة. ضلالة means that when you go astray, in this sense, there's no return from it. So you've elicited the anger of God. Now sometimes, maybe, God forbid, we've done something in our past and Allah Azza wa Jal manifests anger, and all of a sudden things start falling apart around us. And then those things that you were planning, they don't work anymore. And your relationships start to fray. And all of a sudden, all of your money gets tightened up and you start losing things. Then you go do your istighfar. And all of a sudden, things start to fix up. There could be a return from that. But if you're from the dhalin, you've gone astray. It's very difficult to return. You need someone to return you. Otherwise, if it's not a miracle, you're finished. And in this surah, it's a very sincere request. I want you to think about what your life would be like if you were 100% guided in every facet. This guidance isn't just religious guidance. You know, when we think we're praying, God, guide us to the straight path, we're thinking, so I can pray and be religious. And work is part of religion. Study is part of religion. I shouldn't speak about it on the minbar, but even health is part of religion. I need to exercise myself. But these are all things that are part of religion. Your relationships with people are part of religion. How you treat others is part of religion. Now imagine you had this ability where you can max out your guidance. So for example, you need to give a presentation. And Allah gives you this little device where you can max out your guidance. How great will your speech be? How smart will you sound? How charismatic will you be? Allah Azza wa Jal guides people even when they speak, He can guide them. How often you hear the narrations or the verses in the Quran al-Kareem. There's one hadith that comes to my mind. I'll paraphrase. He says, my servant, follow me, you become like me. I'll be the tongue that you speak with, the eyes that you see with, the ears that you hear with, and the hand that you take action with. So imagine you can max up this ihdina sirat al-mustaqim in every aspect of your life. Imagine you're studying. All of a sudden you retain information better. All of a sudden you study less. You don't have to study that much. Have you met people that don't study much? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them full hidayah in that part of their life. Whether they accept God or not, that's a blessing. That's a ni'mah. So when we're consciously saying it, maybe a spiritual advice to myself first and foremost is, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Ya Allah, guide me to that path. That path where I can be the best I can possibly be. Because the natural result of the hidayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam is your excellence. What's the evidence of this? They were excellent in everything. When we think of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and how can you possibly know the greatness of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam? The scholar who created all the scholars in the Islamic world, they all stem back to him. But Islamic scholars is one thing. How about chemistry? How about algorithms, GPS systems, physics? Trace it back, it goes back to him. It's not a joke. The technology we use today, the GPS you put in your car, somehow traces back to the sixth Imam. He taught in his hawza, he taught sciences. He introduced new concepts in science. He was speaking about subatomic particle behavior. Anyone who knows this background understands how great this is. The idea that this table, for example, it looks solid, but at the deepest level, when you zoom in and in, it's just actions of vibrating energy. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he mentions this notion, many ahadith. I'll quote one for you, where he says, do you think that these objects around you are inanimate? By Allah, everything vibrates in frequency. Nikola Tesla was discussing this. This was the great find of Tesla. You probably heard of the car brand. It's named after the scientist, for those who don't know. Nikola Tesla, his great discovery, what he gave this earth and all his inventions came from this notion of frequencies, that everything is energy, and there are no vacuums in space, which annoyed a lot of scientists at the time. You have to dig deep into this. Your success lies in Surah Al-Fatiha. You want that guidance. Now what's interesting is that I've given you my thoughts, correct? What does Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam say about the meaning of Sirat al-Mustaqim? We've been through the Arabic, but let's look at the narrations of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, when they asked him, what is Sirat al-Mustaqim? He said, Ma'rifatul Imam. Knowing your Imam. Knowing the spheres of your Imam. You can't learn from someone if you don't understand them. If you want to benefit the most from your teacher, you should know them very well, on every level. You find that the best teachings come through that nuanced relationship you have with your teacher. To know your Imam and the Imam of our time. Imam al-Zaman, alayhi salam, has to be someone that we get to know, read about him, learn about him. What are the signs for his dhuhr? How do I prepare? What can I do? How can I excel in my work, in my study, so when he comes, he finds a very upright man? How can I work on my nafs? What does he require from me? And how can I know about him and his history and his future a lot better? Another narration. He says, Wallah, nahnu sirat al-mustaqim. We are sirat al-mustaqim. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad are sirat al-mustaqim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So the actions you take away from this is look at them not as the people that you hold holy. Don't put them so far away. Ahlul Bayt, they're holy figures to us, aren't they? They're holy. You write Ali, you write alayhi salam, straight away. You want to touch his name, be on wudu. If he says Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, be on wudu. Just like if you touch the Quran, that's good, that's respect. But bring them closer to your personal life. They have advice for everything. In fact, you don't fall in love with Ahlul Bayt by having them as a holy symbol that they sit on the wall in your house and we chant things whenever we hear their name. It's beyond this. You start building a very personal relationship. We build a relationship on a few levels. Through knowing about them, through knowledge. That's one. Learn about them, their ahadith, what they did in their life. It's really exciting. There's a lot of, especially with Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the warrior, the man with prowess on the battlefield, and his knowledge and how he answers questions. When we look at the Prophet, how he dealt with people, the genius of how he introduced Islam over 23 years and how he brought people together. It's amazing. It's astonishing. Their lives are, they're all erudite in everything that they do. And it's lovely to learn about them. And you feel a deep spirituality. Then you have an ability to conversate with them. And any Muslim on the face of this earth that says, why do you do a tawassul to the Prophet? You do tawassul, you Shia, this is shirkan. We hear this, I want to address it. I think it's worth addressing. When you're praying, who do you say salam to? Sunnatan aw Shia? As-salamu alayka ayyuhan nabi. I want to ask you a question. Would Allah put something in our salah if the salam we say isn't received? Isn't it wajib for every Muslim to reply to salam? وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ. Allah says, don't consider one who dies in the way of God is dead. They're alive. The Prophet died fi sabilillah, of course. He says this. Everything I do is for Allah. He could be sipping water. If he dies in that state, it's a shahada for him. Everything he does is fi sabilillah. The Prophet lives. And then we ask him, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Why? Because they live. And then the last salam in our salah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is salam to Imam al-Zaman in our school of thought. So we can have tawassul to Ahlul Bayt. Oh, why do you ask them requests? The same way if Abu Hussein is in front of me, I ask him for a cup of tea, I'm not asking. He makes it for me because he's a kind human being and he answers requests of people. A gracious person does this. Ahlul Bayt are gracious. They answer. They have a mystical ability. They live. The angels operate in this universe. They are greater than the angels. This is not shirk. Allah Azza wa Jalla asked us to go to them. And there are so many ayat in the Quran al-Kareem. Inshallah, maybe after this lecture series about the meanings of the salah, maybe we can delve into these topics. I want to make you doubtless in your belief in Ahlul Bayt. Because it's all Quran. It's all referenced by the Quran al-Kareem. And Surah Al-Fatiha is the condensation of the Quran al-Kareem. Surah Al-Fatiha is a door. Surah Al-Fatiha is what we recite when we finally ask the girl's hand and the family sit together. Surah Al-Fatiha is the indicator of the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. The Fatiha is the only conversation we have with Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran. The rest is Him talking to us. If you want to talk to Allah, say Fatiha. You want Him to talk to you, read the rest, is the saying. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to deepen our ma'rifah of the salah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us, especially in this country where it's difficult to be religious, to make us among the brightest people in the hereafter. For we came from hell and we made it through. Hell for your nafs, of course. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our Imam, the one who will avenge the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein wa Ashab al-Hussein. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. محمد هاج الفرج أحسنتم أحسن عليكم يا رب يلا سامحوني have to go.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Tonight we remember our beloved Qasim ibn Hassan عليه السلام, the orphan son of our dear and beloved second Imam al-Hassan ibn Ali عليه الصلاة والسلام. One point before then, as Hajj Mustafa was mentioning, it's so crucial for us to look back and learn about the lives of our Imams and also to reflect upon them. I know through the journey of life, we find ourselves distracted, uninterested, not sure, ambiguous. Take the time, look back, spend 1 hour in your day, read into the lives of the Ahlul Bayt. Little by little, it'll start to ingrain itself, those teachings, those examples, the kindness, the generosity, the spirituality. Slowly but surely, it'll entrench itself inside your soul. And it'll make things clearer for you as you navigate through life, inshaAllah ta'ala. So, just to begin, we who are gathered here, we have, I'm sure all of us have family members close to us that are dear to us, immediate family members, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters. We share moments, we share memories with these people, and we treasure these moments. Now, we also experience loss in our lives. Down the line, you lose people. And oftentimes, as you lose someone, you're filled with a sense of regret that you didn't spend more time with that person, that you didn't treasure the moments that you had while they were still alive. Now, there are some people who lose from a very early age, and of course, the foremost example of this is the Holy Prophet himself, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He was, of course, an orphan before he was even born. 6 months before his birth, his father died. He never saw his father on this earth. Now, this was, of course, one of the reasons why the Holy Prophet and after him Imam Ali had such a deep sense of love for the orphans. And tonight, of course, the orphan whom we remember, whom we commemorate, Qasim ibn Hassan alayhi salam, only 3 years old when he lost his father Al-Hassan ibn Ali. And when Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam died, it was a very, very painful, gruesome, anguishing death. It truly hurt. For hours, perhaps days, he was on the sick bed, suffering. It reached a point where he was even coughing out pieces of his own liver. He was coughing out pieces of his own liver. And Imam al-Hussein was crying when he was on the bedside of Al-Hassan ibn Ali. 10 years later, we come to the events of Karbala. Qasim ibn Hassan is here, representing his father upon the field of battle. He asks Imam al-Hussein repeatedly, "Give me permission to go and fight." But Imam al-Hussein does not give him permission. He tells him, "Qasim, you are young, you are the image of my brother Hassan. How can I let you die? How can I let you die when I saw Al-Hassan ibn Ali suffer so much? How can I let you go and fight when my brother died so painfully while I was by his side?" Now Qasim ibn Hassan is in a state where he is almost hopeless. He's lost all hope. At this point, his mother Ramla comes to him and she delivers him a letter from his father, the last letter that he wrote. Imam al-Hassan wrote this letter with the purpose that Qasim would present it to Imam al-Hussein on the plains of Karbala. And so he brings it before his uncle Abi Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. When Imam al-Hussein opens the letter and reads the handwriting, when he recognizes the handwriting of his brother Imam al-Hassan, he begins to cry as the memories flood his mind of his deceased brother. Still, he will not let his son go, even though Imam al-Hassan expressly gave Qasim as a sacrifice on this day. They embrace each other. Qasim and Imam al-Hussein embrace each other, and they are both crying. They are both crying until they both fall unconscious. Ultimately, Imam al-Hussein gives Qasim ibn al-Hassan the permission to go and fight. And he brings the turban of Imam al-Hassan and he wraps it around the small head of Qasim ibn al-Hassan. And when Qasim goes to bid his farewell to his aunt Zainab and his mother, they look upon him and they do not see Qasim, but they see Al-Hassan, the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Qasim is a spitting image of his father, and when they look upon him in his father's turban, they begin to cry. They cry. Qasim goes upon the field of battle. He looks towards the enemy and he says to them, "أن تنكروني فأنا ابن الحسن." For those of you who do not know me, I am the son of Hassan. And Qasim unsheathed his sword and he begins to strike at the enemy forces. He pushes them back and they cannot resist him. He pushes them back. But as he fights, the strap on his sandal becomes loose, and when he kneels down to fix it, Amr ibn Sa'id comes at him from behind and he strikes him upon the back of the head with a sword. Ya Amma! Qasim cries out for his uncle Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein rushes towards the field of battle. He strikes down Amr ibn Sa'id, but in all of the chaos, the horses start to run wild. The horses run wild and they trample all over the body of Qasim ibn Hassan and they tear it to pieces. Imam al-Hussein is in tears as he gathers up one piece of Qasim after the other. He returns it back to the tent and he places it with the other bodies. He cries and he cries. He raises his hands up towards the skies. هل من ناصر ينصرنا? Is there anyone there to help us? إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين. Everyone rise. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين 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 يا حسين 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 يا حسين 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 حسين. Everyone. حسين يا حسين. Oh young Qasim, orphan of mine, draw your sword, rise to battle. Hussein needs you, he's alone. Raise your head high, look to the sky, don't lose hope. I'm beside you all the way through, stay afloat. Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein ya Hussein.
Oh dear Hussein, oh my brother, my son, please. His soul trembles, eyes upon the battlefield. Qasim carries my last letter in his hands. Read it, brother, let him hasten to the sands. Hussein, 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 ya Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein, ya Hussein.
Oh my dear son, you bear the blood of prophets. They look as you fight until you're cut to bits. Oh dear Hussein, please do not cry for Qasim. He fought bravely, pushed enemies to the brim. Oh dear Hussein, please do not cry for Qasim. He fought bravely, pushed enemies to the brim. Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein,
Ya
Ya
Hussein. Death can never reach towards those who believe. Martyrdom for us is truly a relief. Ya Allah, this sacrifice is just for you. We give our lives, sure that we'll be raised anew. Ya Allah, this sacrifice is just for you. We give our lives, sure that we'll be raised anew. Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein, Hussein,
Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. 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 او مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. ایک دن میں اجڑا ہے فروا کا چمن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. ایسے نہ ہوا رن میں پامال کوئی لاشا. ایسے نہ ہوا رن میں پامال کوئی لاشا. پامال ہوا جیسے تو ابن حسن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. ایک دن میں اجڑا ہے فروا کا چمن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم. بھائی کی نشانی کو مقتل میں سلایا جب. بھائی کی نشانی کو مقتل میں سلایا جب. غربت میں شہیدی کو یاد آیا وطن قاسم. مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم او مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم ایک دن میں اجڑا ہے فروا کا چمن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مظلوم تیرے جیسا کوئی بھی نہیں رنگ میں مظلوم تیرے جیسا کوئی بھی نہیں رنگ میں پامال بدن ہائے اور تشنا دہن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم او مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم ایک دن میں اجڑا ہے فروا کا چمن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم ماں تیری تڑپتی ہے اس جیسے بیاباں میں ماں تیری تڑپتی ہے اس جیسے بیاباں میں یثرب میں تڑپتی ہے ہائے روح حسن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم وہ مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم او مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم ایک دن میں اجڑا ہوا یہ فروا کا چمن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم مقتل میں بٹا تیرا ٹکڑوں میں بدن قاسم یا حسین 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد متوجہ زیارت السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمين الله السلام عليك يا حبيب الله السلام عليك يا باعث الهدى السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوسيجين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين السلام عليك يا مولاي وعلى أنصارك المستشهدين معك جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء
السلام عليك يا مغيث الشيعة والزوار في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك أيها المدفون بيرزتوس السلطان أبو الحسن علي بن موسى الرزا الرازي بالقدر والقضاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا قام الكفر والطغيان. أعجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله
الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد.